And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 708. And this is titled ER was wrong about gender, and here's why. Now, I haven't watched this video for 1 second. I have no idea what it's about, but I'm assuming, due to the thumbnail, it's about Steven Universe and the video he made 6-7 years ago that got taken down for various reasons. One, it had, well, a lot of Steven Universe hate. He's very acerbic when it comes to things he doesn't like. That's totally cool. He does a very good job making it fun for everyone watching. Two, he got boosted by PewDiePie, and PewDiePie said he was a very good YouTuber of documentaries or video documentaries on media, which he is. And three, this was all during the time that PewDiePie was also getting targeted by saying the N-word, or I can't remember what exactly PewDiePie did, but because he was pointing to this video that got taken down, which had 4 minutes, I think, of Hitler speech right at the end.
PewDiePie cursed when he played an ego shooter.
Oh, yeah?
The most normal thing in the world.
Well, it's a combination of being boosted and having Hitler content and people hating on ER because they like Steven Universe and he didn't, essentially. So,
oh no!
If I'm wrong. Please correct me. But I haven't watched the video, so I can't say.
Oh no! The children are mad that you don't like what the children like.
Well, that's what it always comes down to, isn't it? On YouTube.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy is called Hiding in Private, and this is his second channel. He has another channel called Hiding in Public, and this one is for stuff he thinks that won't do well on his other main channel. So.
Why would that be?
It's weird. It's a weird thing to say when it's hiding in private and it's still a public channel. I don't know what that means, but sure.
Also, if you defend Steven Universe, you most likely believe in an ideology that maybe you're very ignorant about, but you're on the side of an ideology most likely that rejects the idea of the private.
Well, he did make a video called In Defense of Steven Universe a month ago, and that has almost 200,000 views. So people obviously people who like Steven Universe like his stuff because my thing I like must be defended. And it's like, okay, good enough. So his next step was to attack people who disagreed with him or disagreed with liking a thing. So that's what he did, which is very common for these kinds of people. You know, they have an interpretation that people disagree with that. I don't even know if Steven Universe is mainstream. I think it is because it was broadcast on whatever streaming service.
It doesn't mean that people watch it as much.
Oh yeah, I don't know the stats on it. I have no clue. But everyone who has a brain who watches these cartoons for the sake of it, going, what is this thing on the streaming service? And you pay attention, you're like, this is not quite up to par. And there's a lot of biased writing going on. That's pretty obvious as you listen. So
and getting stranger and stranger.
Right. And for the stuff that we saw, it was weird enough to say, okay, if you like weird shit for kids, I guess that's your thing. But if you want to actually have characters develop and grow and learn and change and not morph into each other in some weird sexual way that never made any sense, as opposed to Japanese anime where they transform into robots or they combine into Voltron, or is Dragon Ball, they fuse in a violent way for the sake of violence as opposed to whatever Steven Universe
by
did.
dancing, just like Steven Universe. This is where it got the idea from.
Oh yeah, it came from Dragon Ball? I have no idea. I have no clue.
Don't you know the fusion dance?
I haven't watched it. No. Can't say. Anyway, this is about 19 minutes long. We will see how this goes. I hope it's a good criticism. And if you guys want to see the original, I won't post the link. It's on the Internet Archive. But I will post the title of the original video that ER made. There you go. Hopefully that doesn't get censored by YouTube, at least in the comments. I don't know. But do a Google for that. If you don't know what ER wrote or ER said, it's all there on the Internet Archive. You can check it out. Anyway, let's get on with the video.
era between 2015 to 2018, there seemed to be a wave of videos criticizing Steven Universe that I thoughtlessly watched and agreed with. I mean, I'd never seen Steven Universe, but, it looked kinda, and the people
First
who liked
mistake.
it were apparently really cringe and annoying, so I sort of just passively enjoyed these videos, making fun of fans of the show. Fast forward a whole lot of years, and I actually watched the show.
So you admit that you didn't even know what you were talking about, but went on the accounts of third parties. Okay.
At my close friends. Turns out, Steven Universe is actually pretty good, but also that some of the biggest hate...
How is it pretty good? Can you please get to, because you watched these videos years ago, you were laughing at the fans who liked it, so you already have an opinion, even if it's not yours. And then you actually watch this show and, hey, it's pretty good. It's like, okay, where is it good? The animation? No, it can't be the animation. The voice acting? Probably not. What? The storytelling? The stories? The plots? What is good about the show?
God.
Give me something good. That's all you got to say. It's a good show because of... give me something.
Pastel colors?
Well, if you just want to say it's a good show and that's my opinion, that's great. But your opinion is useless. I need to justify your criteria, if there is one. What it has good animation. How is it good animation in relation to all other style of animation in the was it CalArts? What is that style called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the CalArts style. That's an argument. Great. Okay, you like the show because out of all the CalArts, that's the best. Fair enough. Go with that. But if you start saying, "Oh, this plot line's amazing," it's like, whoa. Do you know anything about writing? Do you know anything about storytelling? Do you know anything about animation stories that follow a progression of a plot across a serialization? What is your standard? Then we can start analyzing it.
And it certainly isn't the best out of CalArts.
Okay.
Just for protocol.
All right.
Video at the time not only actively lie and manipulate things to a malicious and unjustifiable degree, but also actively spread historical and medical misinformation in the aims of spreading transphobia to their audience.
Oh, medical misinformation. I hope you will elaborate about that, and will also explain to me why they race swapped the girl.
I'm kind of curious how... Is he talking about the show or the critics talking about the show 7 years ago, saying there was...
He's talking about the critics.
Okay, all right.
Because he when he defends Steven Universe, that means that whatever Steven Universe talks about medical stuff, which it doesn't, that must be right. That means that the ideological, magical mumbo-jumbo, that is esoteric hogwash, has nothing to do with science, is in his eyes the science.
Right, but wouldn't any cartoon not be about... that's silly. I wouldn't take a cartoon at face value saying, oh yeah, that's how science works. I would never do that. I don't think most kids would do that. So that's fair. I don't take my understanding of the galaxy by watching Sailor Moon. That's silly. I wouldn't do that. So anyway.
What? You don't think the galaxy is a woman?
There's personifications of the planets and the stars, and they fight other aliens. No, I don't think that at all. Sorry. Anyway, Gigaman.
I was misinformed in school. I need to get a lawyer.
You gotta find girls with pigtails that transform into queens and fly around the universe at Mach speed. Yeah, okay. Anyway, Gigaman, how's it going, sir? Wait, so he already agreed with the more educated and objective critiques of Steven Universe, and then he pulled a 180 on them. The woke mind virus truly knows no bounds. We're not sure what this is yet. I think he just likes the show. He could be...
Maybe he just lied about not having liked it?
Maybe his politics changed in those 5 years. That could happen. I don't know. It's weird.
You mean because he got a woke girlfriend?
Anything's possible with this guy. We have nothing...
Drugs?
We know nothing about this fellow. All we know is
you need to melt... If you had a sane position before and then adopt this, that means something melted your brain.
Okay, I don't know. Something happened. Anyway, let's keep going.
More Star's pathetic tirade against the concept of gender, where he hurts himself in confusion. This segment of his video...
Okay, so it's Steven, a rapey verse, and he's literally commenting out the rapey word, which is not a word, but maybe YouTube is sensitive about that these days. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's the title of the video I posted in the chat. So.
But it is right. One of the storylines with Pearl is exactly about that.
Oh, really? Oh.
And because she tricks what was it, Garnet? She tricks Garnet into fusing because she really wants to fuse with Garnet, who is already a fusion of the two kids you just saw. So she's basically having a threesome with the two kids when she has the fusion, because the fusion is the ultimate conjunction of the mind of everyone. You fully experience each other in perfect harmony.
Oh.
It's a very, very open sexual allegory. And the way that the fusion, so in Dragon Ball, the fusion dances are silly looking, fun choreography. Where you do this what is it called? Synchronous dancing. In Steven's universe, the fusion dances are all sexual and not subtle innuendo, but spreading your knees wide, and the other character then jumps into the crotch of the other.
Okay. Pretty
explicit. Like, you can't miss it. You can't tell me it's not sexual in nature.
All right, that's I don't want to think about it, but let's keep going.
Joke, but is actively attempting to discredit the idea of gender itself in order to frame Rebecca Sugar as a file.
Well, have you watched the show? Well, you said you have watched the show. Watch it again. Watch it again. It's about children doing quite sexual things. And Stephen is then, because he's half gem somehow, he is then fusing with his girlfriend into some weird human mutant thing that is between the sexes, that looks half like a girl but also has stubble, and it's utterly atrocious.
And plus, this person knows what gender is, which...
Yeah, what do you mean by the idea of gender?
Right. So...
Something made up last century. Like, for 10,000 years, humanity functioned without this nonsense.
And he just showed a picture of John Money on the screen as well. So that was a clip from ER's video, which you guys should probably do a Google search on John Money.
Yeah.
Let's not talk
if
about
anyone,
that.
If anyone spread medical misinformation, it was John Money himself, the inventor of the term.
Yeah. Anyway, let's just get back to the video.
So the train, or are just getting in late like I did. Here's my brief correction on why ER was wrong about gender.
Just as the chat brings it up, Stephen technically is his mother, and he also fused with his father at some point for some musical dance number or something, or band. And with everything else we know about this fusion stuff, you have to shut off your brain to not see it. And who would come up with that? Putting that into practice in the show, understanding how you set up how this whole fusion thing works, and then start doing it with humans and their parents with their children. And then wonder why people think you're a pedo. Please, take a breath.
All right.
Defined as the state of being male or female, typically used with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological.
Yeah, that is the made-up nonsense by John Money. That is a nonsense term, and it is complete bullshit, and it is irrelevant. And if you listen to any of these gender activists, they will insist that there is a difference between biological sex and the gender thing. And then as they keep talking and having a discussion with anyone, they will then keep using it interchangeably. They will stop making the distinction. They only make the distinction in the definition phase and not afterwards. And you're not catching on to that. And you don't need to like Matt Walsh to see this. Just watch the interviews he has with the activists, and they keep doing this. They admit, there's a difference between biological sex and the social gender thing, and then they keep using gender for both. It's absolutely mad. It's insane.
I do remember the whole spiel about the Bud Light advertising with Dylan Mulvaney, and he was acting like, well, it's hard to say what he was acting like, but he was acting like the way that women or girls would not act. And women...
Yeah, what he did was the exaggerated caricature of femininity that gay cross-dressers do when they do drag.
Yeah.
Drag is not actual acting feminine, it is acting overly feminine.
Yeah, he was like prancing around in a dress like he was 4, and you're like, okay, that's fine. You could have fun as a weirdo, but women...
And that's not what a dysphoric is.
Yeah, people who want to transition or people who think of themselves as women don't act like that. It's like a performance he's doing constantly. So that is where I'm like, okay, something's up with these kinds of people. And if you're using these words to describe or defend yourself, it's like, that's great, but it's still just you acting something out, which isn't real. And that's where the problem lies that I see. If you can use all these fancy words, but we know that gender comes from sex. And to disassociate the two is like you saying, well, where does the word come from? And how are you using it now? And why don't you use it in a different word? Why don't you make it something other term like drag or transvestite, which would make more sense?
Because then they would admit that it is just fetishes instead of some relevant medical condition, which is why they try to put gender into the solely social and cultural thing, by which, as a result, the medical condition that is currently called gender dysphoria, wrongly termed, the misnomer if you ask me, that this medical condition thus is taken out of the actual medical context, because now it's, if you say, oh, gender is not biological, but so social and cultural, well, then you don't have a medical condition anymore. Then it isn't a medical condition anymore. But you have the people with this actual medical condition. And why do they do that? Why do these activists do that? Because they want the medical condition as a shield to hide their fetishes. The activists don't have the medical condition. The behaviors are completely different between the two.
All right.
And that's the entire confusion of the past decade that they rely on.
Here is Buttman and Throbbin. Thank you, Buttman.
Oh dear.
It's not the best title, but it's a name. Goddamn, why do male Steven Universe fans always sound like they don't have a drop of testosterone in their bodies? I guarantee you the kids who gave up on Ed, and Eddie would Buffy the shut out of SU fans. Sorry, bully the shut out. Don't Google Rebecca Sugar, Ed, and Eddie, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, don't.
All right. But
that's where the right, that's where the initial pedophilia accusations came from.
Oh, from Rebecca Sugar?
No. Towards Rebecca Sugar, because of the fan comics she drew of Ed, and Eddie.
Well, I do recommend Googling Stephen Rapeyverse or How I Learned to Stop Worrying. That is worth a watch. It's a good, I think, 30-minute video from ER that he had to take down, unfortunately. ER does great videos. So, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Gender is not your biological sex. Now, some of you might be thinking,
why do you post a fetishist if you try to make an argument here? This is the exact reason why nobody takes the people with the actual condition seriously, because all you ever show, all the leftists ever show is the people who stand out in this grotesque, monstrous, fetishistic way with surgery obsessions and body part obsessions. Amazing. You're making a case against yourself.
Might be thinking that the brain is biological, and so there literally couldn't be.
I mean, yes, he is currently showing the ER video, but I can't see him having a counter argument against this. We'll see.
Any separation state from your biology. To put it another way, there'd be no meaningful separation between the terms gender and sex.
Let's break this down as quick and effectively as we can while also being extremely thorough and hopefully getting across a point that unfortunately has missed a lot of people. He states gender is not your biological sex, but what your brain believes is your sex. Our brains are biological, so how could one's mental state be separate from our biology?
Good question.
And basically every aspect of this is wrong, including the mental state being separate from the biology.
Wait.
So gender dysphoria can't be a thing, because that is the very problem of gender dysphoria.
If you think
the brain interacts with the body wrong.
If you think the mental state is not based off the brain, I could start slicing parts of your brain off, and you will have a variety of mental states as we go through the process.
It's a very diplomatic way to put it.
Oh, yeah, you might even die. But, it's possible that one of those things will change your mental state.
Spasm weirdly, speak in tongues.
Yeah, if I cut off
lose
blood,
the ability to speak.
If I cut off blood to your brain for about 30 seconds, maybe 35, you could die, or you could have different mental states after the fact because now you're permanently brain damaged. So, yes, there is a direct connection between one's biology, one's body, and one's mental state. So if you're scared, if you're awake, if you're asleep, you have beta waves, alpha, delta, whatever the state of brain is in, they're all based off homeostasis and all sorts of other environmental conditions which are sensed by your body. Your autonomic system is going crazy trying to stabilize everything. When you sweat,
don't forget all the fun substances that people consume in order to change their mental states, because these substances interact with their brains to create these mental states. So this is very biological. I mean, yet you could say, oh no, but that's chemistry. Yeah, that's biochemistry.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, well, I'm the master of my domain. Whatever I think is what is true. It's like, well, whatever you think is true in your imagination, but not in your body. So there's a one direction. It's going from the body up, not from brain or mind down. It doesn't unless Aristotle's wrong and there is no connection, and we've got mounds of evidence to prove that. I'd like to see those papers and change medical science and philosophy and theory of consciousness and all the other things we've been doing for thousands of years. But okay, maybe this guy has got some evidence. Prove this.
Even if you brought up some religious belief about, oh no, the spirit is just acting through the body. Yeah, but then the brain is the filter for what the spirit can do with the body. And if those connections aren't there anymore, or are fucked up, are fused in a like a breaker. Don't know what the English words are for these things. Like a breaker popped and melted. You can't use that right anymore, and you get error messages and weird spasms, and good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, if we start talking about like Helen Keller and her occipital lobe or her cerebellum was broken, so she couldn't see or hear properly, but she still had the capacity for creativity and perception without those senses. Like
perception, yes, but creativity?
To be able to write sentences and poems and draw pictures with certain understandings of color and light without actually...
Helen Keller wrote poems?
She did some interesting
things.
She
didn't even have an understanding of language.
She had a basic grammar that she learned, which is through her hands and through touching...
No, she didn't do anything through her hands. Watch the videos. It's a parlor trick. Okay. Every time her arm is moved up, she starts moving the hands, and once her arm is lowered, she stops. That's what she's trained on.
Well, the idea is that she can have imagination limited, as it were, because of her environment, right?
Yeah, but she's completely stuck in her mind. She doesn't know what's going on outside.
Oh yeah, that's true. But that's where the imagination exists. So whatever you put in, she can use the magic of the Golden Mountain, a la Hume, and create all these versions of what she has experienced and express that in some fashion. So even though her experiences are limited or through a very
she had absolutely no way to communicate. The woman who puppeteered her made all these magical interpretations of what she was allegedly communicating.
All right.
But it was just this arm movement trick.
Let's not get into Helen Keller talk. I just want to give that as an example.
You brought her up.
Yeah.
You brought her up, and this whole case is a fraud. And that's not Helen Keller's fault, because she is a severely disabled, or was a severely disabled woman who was just exploited for some communist activist's personal gain.
Well, there was lots of controversy surrounding her. The idea was that she's in with her own mind, and it's not some magical realm where she can just think her way out of it, or she can perceive things that she's never perceived before. It's all Golden Mountain experiences, and whether or not she did poetry or perceived ideas without getting the visual stimulus, because obviously she was blind, she did something in her mind which was limited to creativity, and that's it. There's nothing outside of that. She couldn't figure out the entire English language, even in her limited way. She couldn't do that. Anyway, where were we? I can't remember. Oh yeah, one's mental state. Okay.
How do you write poems when you can't figure out the language?
She had something going. I don't know what it was, what exactly she wrote. I have to listen to what the documentary said. But there was something going on where she was mimicking the same way a monkey or a gorilla might mimic the patterns on a screen that you can repeat but not understand what they mean. So she could do that. If
you watch that again, really closely watch what her arm position is when she does the alleged communication, and how that starts and ends, because there are moments in these recordings when you can see that she still wants the stimulus, but her hand is being forced down. It's very weird.
Okay,
but off topic.
But it's not incomprehensible. In fact, bear with me, this will be a bit more in-depth than your second grade biology class.
Yeah, please explain to me.
Grade biology class. The issue with ER's characterization is with the premise itself, namely the way that sex is categorized operates on a number of bimodal spectra.
What?
Intersex is bullshit. This study is bullshit. Intersex brains are not intersex. You're stupid.
That's like saying hormones aren't real. We just males have different hormones.
No, it's even worse. All these types of studies, they're all junk science.
Hey, wait, does that say Israel?
Yes, because it's from Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is in Israel.
Right. Anyway,
in terms of generation, from our chromosomes to our icon.
Chromosome M. What is wrong with you people? You pretend to know any science, you can't even pronounce the word right.
Colors to our height. Ever seen a female taller than a male?
Yes.
Yes.
I dated one.
Yes, those are extreme outliers, and they happen when men are smaller. On average, the tallest women is taller than the smallest man. There are also really tall women. They are absolutely genetic outliers. The ones I know here in town that are Germans, they all have some deformities going on. Like their bones are literally too long for their bodies. Yeah, they have health issues.
This is literally first year high school Mendelian genetics with dominant and recessive alleles. Blue eye color, height, tall and short, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So no, he's not blowing my mind yet.
Yeah, because if you deliberately misinterpret these bell curves just for your if I only look at the exceptions, then that means the rule is broken. No, the rule is the bell curves that we see here. That's the rule. Men are on average taller than women. End of story. Average. When we talk about all the Stein stuff, we don't talk about the individual exceptions. We first talk about all the averages because that's the rules. We try to understand the rules of what's going on. Not the outliers, like the gender dysphorics, which is a fucking outlier.
And look at the standard deviations. They're extremely close. It's not, this is not impossible to understand these concepts. So it's not, if you have even a modicum of understanding of statistics, this is like whoop-de-doo. So anyway.
Because while men are generally taller than women, it is by no means rare to see exceptions. The thing is, though, we have thousands and thousands and millions of these variations for each aspect of our biology. Hair growth rates, amount of hair, tendency and placement of stored fat tissue, likelihood of heart disease, and different types.
Yeah, but not all of this is specifically genetic predispositions. We could say that there are genetic predispositions for cancer, but if you don't have a diet and an exercise regimen that facilitates that, you're never going to get cancer. So it's like, what's your point? If you don't feed a kid when he's growing and he has the dominant gene for height, he's never going to have the proper height that constitutes the nutrition to do that. So it's like, what's your point?
And fat distribution on your body is not some random allotment out of a random number generator where the fat goes. It is one, genetic, two, linked to your biological sex through your hormone composition, because your hormones define where the fat goes.
Yep. How it's stored, if it's stored at all, if it's processed at all. A lot of people, like myself, have problem processing fat or certain kinds of carbohydrates, so we're thinner than most. We have to eat more and exercise more to get the same body type.
Yeah.
But that's...
Men don't tend to have the hip fat. Right. And neither the chest fat.
Yeah,
this is very specific. It's a very specific female thing.
Yeah,
maybe you've heard of it.
We don't have to go into like thyroid disorders or anything like the pancreas, but we've known this for decades. This is not unheard of. It's partly environmental, partly genetic, but it's understood.
Types of autoimmune complications. These are all things that are somewhat determinative of sex, but more so seen as increased or decreased likelihood depending on your overall placement on the bimodal graphs genetically. On this most basic level, separate from the apparent truth of just going in public and seeing genetic variation, is the fact that there isn't just XX and XY. There are people with XXY, people born with only one X.
No, stop. These are genetic malformations.
Yes.
These are not other sexes, they're not other genders. These are, in the most direct of terms, conditions with health complications. Other people call them diseases. They're not contagious, but they do pose problems for the people who have them. Very often that relates to reproductive issues. Like X0. You very often incapable of having children. Yeah. Would you like that?
So he's got Klinefelter syndrome, which is the XXY. He didn't put Superman syndrome, which is XYY. I have no clue what XXX. That could be.
That can happen. Not too rarely.
Yeah.
It also gets technically. This progresses infinitely. Just gets more rare. Like it goes up to XXXY, XXX. XXXX, XXXXY, XXXXX, and so on. But they get more rare as it accumulates.
That is so,
and has more problems.
We're talking about the entire process of meiosis. So the interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, all those processes that get repeated and repeated and repeated. And you're talking about chromatins, splicing over. It's a very complicated process for something like this to happen. And it's extremely rare.
Yeah. And what pisses me off about the chromosome topic is that the conservatives refuse to understand it because they just follow the bullshit that the socialists are spouting, like this idiot, because sex is not defined by the chromosomes. It is technically supposed to when they work right. But what counts, what matters, is which gametes your body produces, which reproductive cells, the seeds or sperm or the eggs, the ova.
Yeah,
That is what matters.
These sex chromosomes are extremely rare that we see. I don't know what XO is. I have no clue.
X0 is you only have an X chromosome.
How does that even work?
No second X. It's no second X. That's what that means.
So what? Okay, I've never heard of that, but these are exceedingly rare. But what is his point? I don't know.
It's the left tries to conflate. I'm sorry, it's too late. These medical cons, these intersex. This falls into the intersex categories. Intersex with trans. Intersex has nothing to do with trans. And when you get an actual proper diagnosis for your gender dysphoria crap, you test for all these other biological issues before that. You test the karyotype, which is this chromosome pair. You check for hormonal issues. You check for did any weird organs develop that shouldn't be there, which would also be intersex issues again. You check for all of these other things to rule them out. You do differential diagnosis. And the left somehow doesn't want any of that because they insist, the trans thing, that's a social, that's a choice because gender is social. So it's anyone with the real condition would get furious at best when you told them, well, your condition is just a choice. You could just choose to not be trans, which sounds a lot like what the conservatives say, doesn't it? It's because they don't want, they want to keep it on a level where the people with the fetishes just want their open door of being able to claim that they actually have a medical condition, which at the same time they try to detach from any biological foundation so that it can't be tested, while they conflate it with other medical conditions that they also don't have. It's absolutely mad. Intersex people also don't want anything to do with the left and this rainbow lettuce soup, and their conditions have nothing to do with the rainbow lettuce soup. But the left claims ownership of them like they do with everything else.
All right.
The intersex community. There's no intersex community.
Let's continue. Here's the Copperell for the 2. Thank you, sir. I woke up from my nap to this Pinko Kami BS. I don't know what this is, but it's just...
It is that.
Well, yeah, we're talking about chromosomes, and I'm like, what's your point? We're still waiting on a point here.
With external female genitalia, but female genitalia, or people born with both
call that
ovarian
health
and
issues.
testicular tissue. Point being, on no level biologically.
That last one happens, I think, 1 in 500 million. So it is the ultimate exception, and it is in the rare cases that it happens, as far as I know, also not able to conceive a child.
Right.
Even though you have the tissue, there's just the body's too fucked up.
Do we cleanly fit into the average biology of male or female sex?
What?
Yes, we do, because you've been talking about all these extra conditions that happen in the best of cases 1 in 10,000.
Yeah.
Which means that 99.9% of people don't have these.
Yeah, so when he showed those chromosomes on the screen, he didn't show XYY, which is a male chromosomal disorder called Superman. He also showed Klinefelter, which is a female
It's
condition.
a syndrome, which indicates that there are health complications with it.
Yeah, so you develop as a male with these other conditions associated with it. Mm-hmm. So no, there are specific sex-based disorders, and we've known those for hundreds of years, thousands.
If he brings these up, he should add the numbers of their occurrence. But 1, I believe he never looked that up. 2, if he brought them up, if he brought the actual hard numbers up, But then that would completely defeat his point, because the number of, as I said, the number of exceptions, even if you count them all together, will barely amount to 1% of the population.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about women's various conditions over the years. Women have it tough. After they pass menopause, they can get a higher condition rate of osteoporosis. So, I mean, it's just different for men and women. Their biology is different. It's decidedly different.
Mm-hmm.
There's obvious factors with that. Life expectancy is one of the things that we measure a lot. So, I mean, to say that they're all up in the air is like, no, dude. There's definitely connection between disease, genetics, diet, environment, all these things. Not the way you think. Okay, it's not a social. Osteoporosis is not a social construct. All right. Anyway.
Neither is hypothyreosis.
Sex. If you are a man in every way you can think of, but shorter than the average woman, then you are genetically not in full alignment with.
What are you mumbling about? That is nonsense.
That's like saying
you just made that up.
Yeah, that's like saying
you deliberately misunderstand what you're talking about.
Yeah, he just pointed to an allele being a dominant or recessive allele, and you're like, that has nothing to do with male or female. Or masculine and feminine. That just means you're not as tall as the average person. So
men with dwarfism are not men.
Apparently, I mean, we have the bell curve and we have standard deviations for a reason. And if you fall on the extremes or at the top of that bell curve, you're still in the bell curve. You're still a male. You're not outside the bell curve. You're not some alien who's come to planet Earth and goes, oh, I guess my third gender is not accepted here.
If he keeps going this route, he will eliminate any biological sex.
I don't know where he's going.
That's the ultimate conclusion if you go down this road of argumentation. And then all that is left is the social gender, which you choose. And then the question is, well, why is there a male and a female in the first place? Where does that come from? Yeah. If there's no biology, then where does that come from? Oh, someone, I don't know him or her or it, sat down and wrote down what is a man, what is a woman, some 10,000 years ago. We just haven't found the clay tablet yet.
Michelangelo was totally off, drawing all these nudes and making sculptures of men and women. It's like, whoa.
He just accidentally guessed.
Oh, that's male. I don't know. Must have worked out.
Strange. They all look human and not have weird shapes and extra limbs.
Yeah, like Steven Universe.
Or anyone's missing. Or their organs inside out. Man, how did that happen? Yeah. It's also consistent.
All right.
Like there's a rule.
Sex as a binary concept. Nobody is. That's why sex is understood to be a bimodal distribution.
That's not what bimodal distribution means.
Well, let's see a bimodal distribution so he knows what he's talking about. I'm lost as to what he's trying to tell us right now.
Millions of genetic variations with loose correlation around the general sex.
Loose? What do you mean loose? You think there are millions of people who are loosely male or female?
99%, over 99% of the population. That's not a rule. That's totally not a rule.
If you
how would our species even exist without that?
Can you imagine if we had a loose connection to male and female gametes over the years? Like we would have died out millions of years ago if that was the case. It'd
still be snails.
Can you imagine if one organism did not, when they procreated or replicate or mitosis or whatever, said, you know what, we're not going to focus on the sexual organs or how we divide. We're going to focus on, I don't know, the mouth, the orifices. We're make really good mouths this time around. And then the next generation is dead because there's no one left. It's like, what? The number one factor in any organism, in case you haven't noticed nature for the past 1,000, 2,000 years, whatever we can record, is always about the gametes, the pistil, the seed, the fruits. Like why do fruits have seeds in them, and why do animals eat the fruit and poop out the seed? Like there's this whole balance of nature that nature has figured out. What
is the difference between the what is it? Is it the stem? Oh God, it's so long ago. It's like 5th grade biology. Well, what is the pollen? The pollen is the sperm, basically.
Yeah, the pistil and the
So
stamen.
when you are allergic to pollen, you are allergic to plant sperm.
And this is the big deal. We talk about how important insects and bees are in the balance of the ecosystem in certain parts of the world.
There are male and female plant parts, and some plants even have male and female, plants. They're not part of the same plant.
Right, and
I think people with like all you wheat addicts, you know about that, because I think the wheat plant is exactly having that issue, that there's a male type and a female type.
right. I mean, there's few exceptions, like the earthworm. They're hermaphroditic, so they have both male and female organs.
Yeah.
But they need to procreate with others.
Same with snails.
Yeah, exactly.
Starfish.
So if we understand the concept of sex, which is a binary, and we see in nature there are organisms that have both organs, but they still need others to procreate with, that means nature says, oh, this is how this works. This is how this goes. Unless they're using mitosis, which is different.
Oh, I can't just make clones of myself with myself?
Well, unless you're an amoeba, probably not. So there's mitosis and meiosis. That's all nature has. And unfortunately, if you want to be replicating with another, you need an opposite gamete. So that's how meiosis works.
There was a Stanislav Lem story about this, because lo and behold, even in the 60s, socialism, communism already thought about this madness of abolishing biological sex. And in one of his stories, in this where the main character visits a far-off civilization that is technologically super advanced, and on that planet, the party decided that it would be more socially progressive if 5 biological sexes would be required in order to create a new offspring, and that backfired a lot on that planet.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a stupid idea. The more variables you need for that. The thing with 2 sexes is quite good. It's low, and you get enough variance and mutation through this. It's great.
All right.
2 sexes is great.
Okay.
No one person who exists a perfect equilibrium average of every one of their sex characteristics. It's I
don't know what that
Perfect
means.
equilibrium average of their sex characteristics. Are you a manlet who's just envious of real men?
I'm not understanding what that even means. Does that mean do we need what's the?
He means a tall, muscular man who is virile, has all the organs he should have, has none of the organs he shouldn't have, is most likely heterosexual.
Okay, yeah.
And all this stuff like that. That is most men.
Yeah, so we have this genetic predisposition towards all the dominant traits, I think is what he means.
I think he has Viking envy.
I'm trying to think of it like designer babies, like in Gattaca, where they have this future society where you can produce the best child through going to the laboratory, and it's the best genetics from you, but they're not randomized. So they will tell you, okay, we're going to give you, the best. He's going to be tall, he's going to be strong, he's going to be super smart, he's going to be all these things. And life is not perfect. So if you guys have ever watched, I think it's the second best genetics movie I've ever watched, which is Gattaca. It's not about genetics. It just happens in a genetic world setting in the future. It's about going to space, essentially. It's part of this.
Yeah, and getting through these extra barriers that is set up by this perfectionist society,
which is fascinating in and of itself. But I think that's what he's implying.
You could say it is a story about applying yourself, even though you are seen as inadequate by that society, and yet overcoming those odds through sheer force of will and dedication.
Yeah, which is a perfect coming of age / hero's journey sort of story on a simple level. So it's not the best movie, but as far as genetics goes, it's the second best I've seen. Anyway.
Smaller than nearly anything. I mean, just think, there's 8
Lion.
billion people on Earth, and not one person perfectly fits the center of the defining averages of...
Please define what that is.
Wait a second. Are you saying the defining average? So if we take tall and short, so we're saying medium or mesomorphic or whatever we want to call that, mesomorphic on every level. You're trying to tell me that the top of the bell curve is never going to get hit, even though it's the tallest part of the bell curve? Is that what he's saying?
I think yes. And the tallest part of the bell curve is not that's not a peak of a thing. That is the accumulation of the most people
Right.
in that space.
In the average that you're
That's
searching,
a column.
the median that you're looking for, that is the tallest part. And he just said there is no one person who matches that, even though the bell curve shows us that is where the majority of people are.
He doesn't know how that works.
I don't think he understands anything.
Yeah, he doesn't. Did you go to school? This should have been part of where do you do that in the US, in geometry?
Yeah, well, he this first part is
I mean,
his
it's
paragraph.
statistics, but
Yeah. Well, first year stats, right? But the first part of his paragraph was like, no one is the best at everything genetically. It's like that would be the end of the bell curve. Like, you're right. It's very, very rare. And then he says, no one's possibly in the median or the average of all the traits. It's like, wait, no, they are. That's the whole point of the bell curve.
nobody is average. Yeah, average people are average.
Yeah, most people are average. You're right. I mean, that's where it goes.
Most people have an IQ of 100.
This is weird. I don't know what he's trying to say anymore. Is he saying people are not superhuman? You're right. People are also not in the medium. It's like, what?
Oh, no, wait, the other way around. 100 is the IQ that most people have.
I don't know the intelligence quotient these days. I can't tell you.
Yeah, but it is always corrected every few years to the median. The median is 100.
Yeah.
That's why they say the IQ is growing, while actually the number is kind of getting smaller for the geniuses.
All right, maybe,
and higher for the dumb people, because the dumb people are getting smarter.
Maybe he's going to make a statement about being on the end of the bell curve as opposed to the front. I don't know. It's all over the place right now.
Man.
Of female in genetic characteristics. So in other words, there's not a rule with a few exceptions, as it's sometimes framed with these chromosomal exceptions.
Zomel. Like tasty. M, like in tasty.
Okay.
No,
we are all special. But if we're all special, who is really special? Does that mean we're all normal? If we're all special, then we're all average.
Then the only difference
because
is...
this is like...
Yeah, if the genetics are all the same, then what's difference is how you think, which means you're retarded.
I mean, yes, you, video maker, you are special because you sound like a tadpole trying to talk about grown-up things.
Anyway, let's get back to his point, whatever it is. I'm waiting.
Pooled and cataloged by the millions, average out into generalized rules when placed on...
They're not rules. Genetics are not a rule. It's like a recipe, and that's all we get. You can't...
Sometimes the recipe's broken, like a tablet from Avnul Barnapal's library.
Yeah, and we don't have the technology to just go in there and just start replacing the recipe and make a brand new you. It just doesn't. We don't have that yet.
Yeah.
So.
Like, is Down syndrome another gender? Even just because that's basically what's happening with the 23rd chromosome pair.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine you have Down syndrome on the 23rd chromosome pair. That is what these intersex conditions are. They're not extra sexes. They're medical problems for the people who have them. It's not fun. You don't want any of these.
Yep. Okay.
You know this when you line up, and girls tend to be lower, but there's quite a few mixing in the middle. So
There's a phase where the girls have their growth spurt before the boys, and for a short time the girls are taller than the boys. Maybe you missed that time. And then the boys have their growth spurt, and bam, palm trees. It's very few that are actually shorter than the girls.
So, go to Walmart or like a local park, the genetic variation yourself. Do you know someone with different eye color than you? Do you know someone with different hair color than you? Hair length? Hair thickness? Knowing this, why would...
That has nothing to do with sex.
What is he talking about? What is his argument now?
Did you know that women's hair does grow longer than men's when you let it grow out fully? I think with Caucasians it's about 10 centimeters, even up to 10 centimeters, which is the difference of it hanging just above your ass and over your ass, which is not recommendable when you go to the toilet.
Or have a healthy diet. What is this guy talking about? He's talking about the park, going out and finding differences in people. It's like, yes, people have different genetics.
Yeah, people look different. Hey, look, diversity among people of the same race. Isn't that? Oh my God, the whole narrative falls apart.
But then he talked about different haircuts, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with genetics. You can cut your hair. Anyone can cut.
Not haircuts. He wasn't talking about haircuts, but colors.
Oh, hair length. He said. I was like, wait a second. What the fuck does that have to do with genetics?
Hair length has to do with genetics.
Yeah, but you can cut your hair.
As does hair color. As does when and how you start balding.
That's true, but I mean, there's superficial stuff like I can burn all the hair off my body if I wanted to. It's like,
yeah, but he's basically saying that because there are different hair colors, there is no average hair color, and nobody has the average hair color.
I'm sure you could figure that out quite easily. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, most Germans are not blonde and blue-eyed.
Oh.
They're brown-haired and brown-eyed.
Sounds like it's dominant in your genetics.
Well, the blonde and blue-eyed thing, that's a Saxony thing specifically.
Yeah, but that's recessive too.
Saxony and Frisian.
Yeah, it's like we've known this for decades, if not centuries, with Mendelian genetics. So we don't even need to know DNA. We just have to observe it. And say, well, let's get all these people together and watch them for one generation and say, hey, look at all the variability. It's mostly brown-eyed, brown-haired people. How did that work out? Anyway.
We assume 100% of people and 100% of those 100% of people's brains genetically happen to land perfectly in the equilibrium of male or female.
What kind of goalpost movement is black and white thinking is that?
I don't even understand what he said.
He's just making up shit now that now there are now he's saying there are no claiming that he's claiming a straw man in which people who disagree with him believe that exceptions don't exist.
Is he giving the argument that people are, like, to say, gender dysphorics are partially male and partially female? Is that what he's getting at?
He's basically arguing against that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, that's why I said in the beginning, like, he's basically denying the biological connection to the whole brain thing. So there can't be gender dysphoria with a biological root. So, which means that the condition can't exist because it's not a condition then.
That's ridiculous. That's like saying we don't have osteoporosis because you're thinking improperly.
That's what the left believes. That is literally what the socialists believe. And if you talk with the people who are even more into the esoterics of socialism, the magical beliefs of socialism, they don't believe that the subjectivist types who don't believe that there is an objective reality. They reject the idea of an objective reality, and they believe that everything is mind. And the physical is an illusion. And they can change reality by just wishing hard enough with their minds. I am not making this up.
Okay,
I have talked with these people.
All right. Let's keep
They're
going.
not very smart. They're not very smart people.
Okay. We're at 5 minutes. Oh, my God.
Childlike, ridiculous thing to
Projection.
the professional. But it's also very complicated to understand, as complex biological structures and science often is. So, How would
Wait, what was his point? What was your point? People aren't 100% male or female. Okay, I understand it in some ways, but not completely, but fair enough.
People have medical conditions. Okay, wow.
Yeah,
congratulations on noticing that.
Yeah, like
those are exceptions.
Some people have gender dysphoria. I agree with you. That's true. But everyone else, for the most part, doesn't. So they're 100% male.
Well, we know what's going on in or in part what's going on in the male homosexual brain, and that is that the center for sexual orientation is physically the size of the female center for sexual orientation. The normal male heterosexual center for sexual orientation is about pea-sized. The female one, so the female heterosexual one, is about walnut-sized. And in homosexual men, it is walnut-sized. So they have, you could say, one aspect of their brains is developed like a female's. That's all.
Brain, no, that it aligns more with the male or female sex on a genetic and biological level. Well, ask it. If your brain is biological and your brain...
If your brain is biological, what a question. What else should it be?
How do you ask your brain a question? What are you talking about?
With an fMRI, I suppose, which was done numerous times. We have tons of wonderful data.
Okay.
And not from the studies that he showed, because those were bogus studies that have been debunked.
I really want to know how you ask your brain anything, but okay. Just keep going. This is amazing.
Is telling you it feels more comfortable in the presentation that fits more so with the stereotypically feminine or masculine, especially...
Your brain? What? What are you talking about?
Presentation? It is not about presentation. That's Megamind. It's not about presentation.
Is my brain presenting as a female? I don't know.
Okay. You are about arousal through cross-dressing. It's something else. That's presentation. And basically imagination. That's something you actively do. Gender dysphoria is something that passively happens to you. You don't want that. When you have dysphoria, you don't want that feeling in your brain, which is a result of error messages between your brain and your body, because your brain, the stupid bloody thing, didn't get the memo that it has the biological body it has and expects signals from places that aren't where they are or aren't there at all, and get signals from places that it thinks shouldn't even be there.
Right.
Because just imagine it has the wrong blueprint. That's its problem. That's the fucking problem. It's not about what you want to do.
Trying to exercise your thoughts to influence your autonomic nervous system, you have it. First off, that's kind of weird, but you can do it in a very minor level, like your mood, your breathing rate, and you can influence your heart rate by exercising, a bunch of other few minor things. But for the most part, 99% of your brain is autonomic. You don't have any control over any of it. And if you don't have the proper nutrition to give your organs and your brain what for, then it's going to start eating you. It's going to start processing through autophagy all the proteins in your body and the fats and all the things it needs to keep the brain going. So I don't know exactly. Maybe he's talking about something else.
And then eventually it's going to eat itself.
Yeah, maybe he's talking about something else, like the body or the perception of the body, not the brain. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where he's going with this. But he's already...
I think he thinks that he thought this through.
Well, he did, but he's so unintelligent.
He didn't think it through. He thinks he
doesn't have enough understanding of, first of all, biology, which is a huge topic. Genetics was an ever-changing topic by the week. And to say that this is all science is like, well, where's the science? What are you talking about? Where are the studies pointing to what you're talking about? He's just saying things.
Yeah. And Proton Stalker in the chat says, the conscious mind is just a passenger. And that is a good way to put it. The way I try to relate to people is, imagine your conscious mind that's the big office where Mr. Burns is sitting, and you are Mr. Burns at the big desk. And outside your big office, this big nuclear power plant is running. And you have no bloody clue what's going on down there, what Homer Simpson is fucking up today. You just sit here and occasionally get a piece of paper on your desk and you are asked to either sign it or reject it, and that's all. About the thousands of processes that go on in your nuclear power plant, you have no bloody clue about. That's the conscious mind. You have no bloody clue what's going on. And that's good, because if you had to do all these things consciously, actively, you would go insane. That's a mental load you can't consciously handle. That's not what your conscious mind is for. Your conscious mind is there for making decisions about things that have not been automated yet.
Because they're external for the most part.
Yeah, until like when you learn cooking. When you learn cooking or any other skill, first, you are very conscious of all the little things you do, all the steps you have to do. And once you get enough training with that, you do them automatically. You don't even think about them, and you start thinking about other things as you do them, and you do it. You make a perfect dish anyway. That's when it is automated. There's no decision making involved anymore once the process has been automated. Same as with going grocery shopping. When you get to a new town, new supermarket, first where is everything? I have no. Or your little kid, and you're sent out on your first grocery errand, and it takes you an hour to get everything. Later on, 10 years later, you don't think as you go through the supermarket. Maybe you talk with your buddy or something, and you just fill the cart, because that's not something you actively need to think about. Your subconscious is doing that for you now because it is trained.
All right. Let's keep going.
It makes you feel terrible to have been better, then it is unlikely for the brain to feel that way. Enjoy these things.
It is unlikely for the brain to feel that way. Does that make any sense to you?
I need to hear the more of the sentence again.
Let's rewind, yeah.
Give me a second here.
Telling you it feels more comfortable in the presentation that fits more so with the stereotypically feminine or masculine, especially to the point that it makes you feel terrible to have been born into the sex or the body that you were, then it is unlikely for the brain to feel that way. Enjoy these things. Want to do such a thing if not genetically predisposed to in that way.
What?
You should have really rewritten your entire script.
Is he saying...
Because that is turning... I think I have a rough idea what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But it just comes out as word salad.
The ego is the brain, I think, is what he's getting at. I hope, because I don't see how the brain cares or gives a shit about thinking it's a male or female or looks like a male or female stereotypically, which is... Does the brain even give a shit? I don't think so. It's not an entity.
What it does with gender dysphoria, for example, is that it does measure your own attractiveness by the standards of the other sex.
Right.
That is what causes the misery. The thing is that if you are not aware of this full body phantom limb, basically, that I mentioned with this, your brain got the wrong blueprint and therefore gets all the wrong signals. If you can't properly identify that, you have no bloody clue why your brain gives you the basically the post-it with an F all the time.
Well,
with you fail, you look ugly, you're ugly, but it doesn't tell you why.
I think
it just gives you this by the wrong stand, by the wrong measurement, the objectively correct answer, because the best looking man still looks like an unattractive woman,
which is based off your perception of the aesthetics of the stereotypical male or female, which we assume is what the brain cares about, or at least the person, meaning, let's say yourself, you care about what you look like because you want to be perceived as, attractive or whatever. So I think that's what he's saying.
I mean, for the part where he's trying to say that it's a passive process, if that's what he's trying to say, then on that point he's right. But the way he goes about everything else is nonsense.
If he means it the way I think I know what you mean, which is not completely clear because we're not clear what he's saying. he's saying that there is this objective vision of male and female, which we all see and perceive within a certain time frame of, let's say, the 70s, where everyone did their hair a certain way, and that was fashionable. It's like, that's attractive. Can I look like that? Is my body?
What's fashionable is not necessarily attractive. It's just what's socially caught on, and everybody believes to be fashionable.
Oh, yeah, but that's perception based off your understanding.
And very often,
of
the fashion that especially women wear is not in order to attract men. They may think that. Some may think that, but it is just to outdo the other women in what they are doing. And the men just look at them and feel like, yeah, she has absolutely no fashion sense and she has a bird's nest for hair, but I think she's cute anyway.
Well, I mean...
So actually, men are looking past the silly clothes that women put on.
We can only assume he's referring to these aesthetic principles of perception at the time of where you, not the brain, where you think, okay, I want to look like that, but I can't because my body is not like that. Or I wasn't born that way, specifically because he's talking about sex. Or gender, rather. I think. We're not sure.
So just if you can figure out gender dysphoria correctly, you have absolutely no need for any of the socialist communist nonsense about there being no average males or females, or he says stereotypically
right.
male or female.
Exactly.
But what we're actually talking about is statistically male or female.
Right. This is what is throwing me off, because when you say stereotype, I'm like, which stereotype of male and female? What part of the world? Because every culture has a perception of what is the attractive male or female. So,
and the strange thing is that all human cultures like athletic, muscular, strong men and beautiful women. Beauty is not as much a factor for men as it is for women, and female beauty has, while it differs in the details, always the same root. I don't want to say issues. What is it? Root attributes in regards to proportionality, to softness.
Right.
In the like the way you can have soft faces in various different shapes, but it is the softness that is the part of it, as well as the hip waist ratio. It's always the same.
This is where we can do a whole series, and we have done that. At least the University of Toronto did at the end of 2000. It was a 5-year study about the average face appearances, and it was based off koinophilia, or the concept that a mate looks for the average traits of the opposite gender or the opposite sex to find attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And there were small variances in the cultures or the perception of the face, like certain Asian cultures, the way they perceive the chin or the mouth or the eyebrow. There's a very, very small variation where, like, the Indian woman would have this kind of nose, or the Roman nose, or whatever the case may be with an individual taste. So there was some subjective elements in there which were high variability, but most of the case it was like, nope, symmetry, balance between the eyes and the nose, distance between the nose and the lips, length and size of the lips. Like, they're all pretty much an average face. That was the objective level. So when he says stereotype, I'm like, okay, stereotypically on average across the planet, or stereotypically.
Or does he mean stereo? Because I think usually when leftists are using the word stereotype, they mean prejudiced.
Okay.
Something prejudiced, some imagined prejudiced thing, and not a rule of thumb, for example.
Which is why we have these studies which prove that there is this objective concept of attractiveness that is universal. It's not just, women are in this society have like stretched out lips and earlobes. It's like, no, it's a specific cultural thing that's not universal. Anyway,
the stereotypical bipedal human.
There you go. Fair enough. Okay.
Featherless, the stereotypical featherless biped. That's what I wanted to say.
All right. Let's get the JJJ Madness super chat, and we'll keep going. How sad do you need to be that you must make an entire video on gender, all because you got angry at ER made a fun of Steven Universe? Yeah, this is what it comes down to. He is defending Steven Universe, and he's coming up with the, I don't know what you call, this is not science, this is not stats, this is not anything that anyone learned in school, in university, in any, like, point me to a study or a textbook or a teacher that would teach this, and I will be like, this is nonsense. You are a social studies teacher, get the hell out of here. Or I just can't think of anything where he would get this knowledge from. So yeah, it's purely based off hatred of ER.
And he can edit well enough to be expected to put numbers on here and citations.
If he could put a chart of height on two bell curves, a male and female, he should be smart enough to understand it, and he's not. Which is
even if he is smart enough, he just sees in it what he wants to see in it. That's what usually is going on with.
Yeah, but that was so nonsensical. I was sitting there like, what's the point of showing this if you're not going to prove anything when your standard deviations are identical? Like, it's so silly to not even understand 0.05%. It's like, there it is. It's like, what's your proof? The variability is higher than that. So, like, it's close to 0.05. Wow, you're blowing my mind. Like, you do like a few more.
Core argument is one that the left always makes, which is that rules don't exist because exceptions exist.
Oh, really?
That's it at its core.
Well, even the bell curve has obvious highs and lows, so I don't know. Everything gets charted on the bell curve, guys. You're definitely on the chart somewhere.
But there are exceptions on the bell curve, which is the extremes, and therefore there is no average.
Oh, really?
And no median.
There's no median.
It's not a thing, because there are extremes. There are extremes at the ends of the bell curve, and therefore the center doesn't exist. That's basically the argument. And when you put it like that, you notice like how nonsensical it is.
And I don't know if they want everyone to be on the median or they want everyone to be stretching out to the extremes. I don't know what the goal of this is. It doesn't.
Well, communism wants everyone to be the exact median. The problem is that you can bring people down by sabotaging them, but you can't bring the people up that are below the median. But which is why communism then pushes the initial median down to the worst extreme.
Oh, by killing them.
So that everybody can be pushed down to that, because the worst person, the slowest person, the ugliest person, the whatever worst person is the standard that everybody needs to be. So it's no strive for, and then everybody will be like that. And that's how society falls apart under communism. So they do not strive for the best, like inspiring, becoming the best, putting yourself to the test, to the positive, to have a chance to get to the positive extreme. They just push you down to the negative extreme.
All right. Anyway, let's try to get back to what he was saying. It's very hard to follow him right now, so I'm a little lost. But let's get back to the video.
I'm sure it all makes sense in his head.
Are entirely determined by a single area in our brain. Basically, every high school psychology course in the US covers the story of Phineas Gage, who in the 1800s took a beam through the skull and on a dime miraculously lived, but also miraculously changed completely as a person until the day that he died.
So the brain is biological, and thus the mind.
What is his argument?
I think he just countered himself.
Yeah, this is a very famous case, and it shows that if you happen to do anything to your brain, it affects your mind. And we've seen that with the guy who got hit by the proton with the particle accelerator. That was an interesting story as well. It was a Russian guy. I
think there was a prize named after him.
Yeah, I mean, he had a short lifespan, and he had like his left part of his body was like going numb as he was getting older. But like, yeah, you do anything to your brain, you're going to change the way you have a mental state, or even your mental state. So, all right.
On a number of spectrums. genetic variations, the features create on a graph 2 mounds of general genetic variation. So, I know that was...
What the hell was that?
He just said that males and females exist.
Phineas had a thing through his skull and he survived. By the way, there's a spectrum of male. Like, what does that mean? What are you doing? You do not waste my time like that, sir. You do not. You could have put apple and orange on the screen. I'd be like, those are fruits.
He is pretentiously arguing like this, or to us it seems pretentious, because he perfectly understands what he means to say with these things and articulates them in a way that requires us to be able to read his mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you start putting
It's
holes
not
in your
good.
brain, you're going to die. I don't care if you think you're Phineas, you're going to die. All right? Do not put holes in your brain and what is, if you want to prove that you can cut the corpus callosum in half and still live, that's true. We've had all kinds of studies of that happening. If you want to remove parts of the frontal lobes, you can do that. You may survive. That's true. We've had studies of that. What is your point? That has nothing to do with sex.
He keeps contradicting himself, and I don't think he notices.
He may as well be removing genitals and be like, hey, you're still a male, even though you don't have a dick. It's like, yeah, genetically, you're right. Physically, no. What is your point, sir? At least that would be closer to the topic.
Now we have the cartoon child rapist on screen.
Yeah. The main topic. Whatever the hell the first 6 minutes were about, I don't even know.
I mean, she has an Oedipal narcissistic disposition, so kind of fits.
I don't know. This is going nowhere.
Really fast, but that's genetic variation in sex, and how it can fall more or less on one side or the other for literally millions of different genetic components, and in extreme examples may create things like visually distinct secondary sex characteristics or gender dysphoria in brain science.
What?
So you admit that they are anomalies.
So 99% of the time...
Complete anomalies that shouldn't happen and that cause problems for the people who have them. Meaning that if everybody was healthy, if that was possible, that we could have a society where everybody is physically healthy and does not have any hereditary or environmental diseases and conditions. No allergies, no cancer, no Alzheimer, none of these things. Your body just at some, well, for lack of a better word, divinely ordained point in time just dies, and there's no illness that causes that. Just there's no illness. Then these things, intersex conditions, gender dysphoria, they would not exist.
Right. This is like saying, oh, here's a genetic variation. Here's a crossing over of linked pairs that produce something new. It's like, yeah, it's a mutation. Those are usually bad. And there's people with conditions, with organs that have permutations which are flawed. And they could feel pain in their kidneys where they shouldn't, or they feel pain in other organs where they shouldn't. And science has no idea what these things are, what these conditions are, or how to fix them. So yes.
Yeah, and there was a paper. I still haven't gotten to it. I'm sorry. I don't know if it has been taken apart at this point or whether it still stands. That claims to have found a broken androgen receptor in gender dysphorics, which means, so not all. This is not androgen immunity, but there is. And one of the many androgen receptors that you have in the body is broken. Therefore, the testosterone, the androgens, cannot dock onto it. And therefore, all subsequent things that trigger from that cannot happen. And that is how you get hormonally caused developmental issues. Like the one mentioned here on screen. This is the cause of a biological problem that leads to your brain developing anomalously and therefore causing you distress at the very least. like this weird condition that absolutely nobody who actually has it wants to have and would like to get rid of one way or another. And there are many people that do have it, would like to have another way to get rid of it than to transition, because many people who have real gender dysphoria look into what is medically possible to do and come to the conclusion, this is all bullshit. Because transition isn't actually, if you look at it to the end, it's not possible. We don't have it. Maybe we won't have it in 500 years. Maybe not maybe never. It's not possible. It can alleviate some part of the dysphoria, but you can also find counters to it. You will still have the dysphoria, the stress from it, but you can have counters to it, like, well, the love of your family. That can do it. Pain will still be there, but you have a counterweight that helps you keep going. That many do that, but the left doesn't talk about them. Because that kind of ruins the narrative of castrating all the children.
Oh, God. We haven't gotten to that yet. Hopefully, he won't talk about it, but we'll...
Yeah, just saying.
I want him to get to Steven Universe, because he's still going... He showed on the screen, and he's back to the freaking whatever this is. Okay. At least it's a scientific study that we could read if we ever cared to.
Mm-hmm.
To even that people have done brain scans on MTF and FTM trans people and seen that the gray matter aligns more so with the sex that they desire to be mentally.
Not desire, that's the wrong word. But it's not that easy, you bloody, sloppy, superficial liar. It is rather that you have various brain areas affected differently. And it's not just that it's more like the female brain or it's more like the male brain. It's rather that, for example, in male to female brains, there are areas that, some are completely normal as they should be. Some are more developed in the way that the female would be, like they're smaller, for example. Or they go completely overboard in the biological male route and are actually more developed than in the average male. So it's not just that they just go into the direction of the other sex, it's rather that the gender dysphoric brain is all over the place. And it's the same for the female one, which is especially, I would say negative, because the limbic system is much less developed in the gender dysphoric female brain than it is in the normal female brain, where it is already less present, let's say, for lack of a better term, than in the standard male brain. And in the gender dysphoric male brain, it is even more pronounced than in the normal male brain. So it's completely the wrong direction. But hey, let's not read that study, because it again ruins the narrative, doesn't it? It's not simply a female brain in a male body. It's not that easy. It's a much more complicated condition.
For this long tirade. But this is basically a pocket edition of debunking every anti-trans argument using actual facts and logic.
Facts and logic. Where's the facts?
Those were not facts, and there was no logic in your ramblings, because you contradicted yourself several times.
You know, if you have facts, you could list them in a point form, and we can all go, okay, fact one, all right, let's look at the source, let's read up on it, and study it. And then you would criticize it, and you would point out the positives and the negatives, the pros and cons. And then we'd have an actual video. We can go, oh, you did some homework, you know what you're talking about. All he did for 7 minutes was ramble on how the bell curve is a thing and people are different.
And then cherry pick what suits his narrative.
Or his interpretation of whatever the hell he was looking at, because I don't even know what he was trying to say.
I bet he believes he's trans.
I don't know what.
And maybe he is. Maybe he actually is, but he's so infused with the communist gobbledygook, magic nonsense that claims to be science when it is the opposite, that he may just not know any better.
Anyway, he must have disproven something because he's getting on with the video. So let's get to the hopefully animated part of the thing he's going to defend, which I thought this video was about.
I'm tired. Mike, do you have thoughts?
Not sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry, Mike. This is one of those videos where it's a lot of gobbledygook, and you're just like, oh, good lord.
Can we get Norm MacDonald on?
Oh, he would just be cracking.
You have to revive him, though.
Yeah.
According to the left, Ouija boards work, so it shouldn't be a problem. I don't think he would mind.
All right. Well, I want to get within 5 minutes of talking about Steven Universe. We're going to stop. This is getting nowhere.
Now we're on to gender. Gender as a concept are socially constructed guidelines and cultural details that associate with broader sex trends.
Wait, it took us fucking 7 minutes and 10 seconds just to get to the actual thing. Why did we even sit through the other thing? No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anyway, let's get on with
Well, this is something.
Now we're on to gender. Gender as a concept are socially constructed guidelines and cultural details that associate with broader sex trends and beliefs of the culture and time. Girls wear pink, boys wear blue. This is not biological, and in different cultures and different time periods, the opposite things have been true, with blue being for girls and pink being for boys. We know girls to wear high heels and guys to wear flat bottoms and sneakers, except high heels were originally invented explicitly for men to specifically wear.
It's interesting that he actually brings up these historical facts. Why that we kept bringing up to debunk the leftist depictions of what the stereotypes are, because the way that they depicted it for decades is that, oh, it's been always like that throughout history, when it wasn't. So I'm very curious as where he's going with acknowledging the historical facts.
Yeah, the fashion trends of
Basketball
100 years ago are irrelevant to what is popular now. You could say all kind, like bell bottoms were hot in the 70s. Crew tops.
They're always hot.
Well, you know, it's like, yeah, what was popular then was popular then. Let's respect it for what it was worth. That has nothing to do with the argument of gender.
Mm-hmm.
Girls do ballet or gymnastics.
Men are world-renowned men do gymnastics and
ballet.
And ballet and
holy shit.
Figure skating.
It's very unhealthy for your body.
Again, I talked about this before, how Russia and China have these world-renowned schools you go to learn how to do these things for men.
Yeah, circus athletes.
There are nearly as many women in women's sports leagues as there are men's. But back in the day, it was seen as mannish and not something that a woman should be interested in.
That's you're limited to your understanding of those people. That's fine, but you're still you're wrong. It's like, what? There's a whole world out there, son. Get out there and learn. Yeah.
Cultural norms, while they may override your personal interests or seek to override your personal interests, do not erase your personal interests. Your personal interests are still there.
Yeah.
That's why we had societal shifts time and again.
If a guy likes sewing and he becomes, as a little boy, and this is true in Italy, because in Italy you used to grow up, you learn a trade. And there's two trades. There was sewing and there was barbering. And you go into one or the other. And
most tailors have been men during for history.
I always bring this up.
All the great cooks, men.
Yeah, I always bring up my neighbor because he's still around. He's old and he's retired. He is the greatest tailor I've ever met, and he still does wedding dresses and suits for friends and family. And he kept Danier leather on the market for another 10 years before he retired, and no one listened to him. That's why it's got.
Honestly, and the only female pizza baker that I know is in this town. She runs a little family business called Michelangelo's.
Oh yeah.
So then I wonder, who's Michelangelo?
Well,
because certainly not her.
If you're gonna name a pizzeria, you gotta use Michelangelo. That's pretty good. There's one
that is pretty good, but she is not Michelangelina.
No. But there's one in Ottawa as well. It's very good pizza. So.
it's a tiny thing like this. There's barely 5 people fit in there.
Yeah, it's a small restaurant. But double cheese is standard. It's amazing pizza. Anyway.
gendered aspects, while in some cases aligning with the average bimodal interests of male and female, was an average, not a rule. And on top of that...
What does that mean? The
Well,
bimodal...
was on average not a rule. I think my head is going to hurt.
What is the average bimodal aspects of gender? What does that even mean? Are we talking like women wear high heels and men don't? Is that...
I don't know.
I really wish she would clarify without using these weird sentences. Just say exactly what you mean, sir. Clearly.
I mean, I can always blame the time and the long day, but
Yeah, no.
this
This
guy's special.
no sense at all. Okay. Anyway, 8 minutes.
Should have invited Aiden.
I'm gonna go till 10 because he is not saying one whit of logic or facts that make any sense.
He believes he does.
I don't know. He's jumping all over the
Very.
place.
He believes. I genuinely believe he does. I genuinely believe he isn't trying to confuse us and pull our
Yes,
legs.
I agree.
I believe he genuinely believes what he's doing is completely logical and convincing.
He just doesn't have the intelligence to do that and the forethought to plan it out to make sense to the average viewer.
Or the introspection to notice what the errors in his articulation are.
All right, let's get to some super chats to keep myself sane, and then I'm gonna close my eyes and then we'll get back to the video. Okay, Vladimir Dragonov, how you doing, sir? Speaking of gender, what if the pronouns thing is in Starfield was a psyop to garner more attention? No, not for Heels versus Babyface. I think he's his own person.
And then it wouldn't also be some sort of topic in Baldur's Gate 3 because that game didn't need that. That is because that's a phenomenon.
Well, I think
Something we've been waiting for 20 years.
well, yeah, I know. It's just with that studio, they will just do everything and then some. And you're like, you didn't have to do half of this shit, but they did it anyway to extend the development times. They had the money. It's like, yeah, we know you have the money. Just give us the damn game within time. So, anyway. JJ Madness, thank you for the 5 again. He's a very much a massive lefty. He made a video called Gay Allies, a Fallout with Game Writing, praising the beauty of gay partners in games. I see nothing wrong with that. You could enjoy relationships in gaming. That's totally cool. But if he's not gay, then what's the point? Like, what would be the reason to do that? I don't...
Why would you make that?
Like, you'd have to be, this is like my favorite gay relationship. I am a gay man, blah, 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 blah. Great, but if you're... I'm
so happy I can have a partner to commit anal sex.
Yeah, it's kind of like me making a video about how great, I don't know, Miranda Lawson was in Mass Effect 2. I'm like, she wasn't that great. It wasn't a great story. She was passable, and the storyline is horrible in general. So
She wasn't as pretty as genetically advertised.
Well, that's another thing, yeah. I mean, but like, you wouldn't do that. Like, it's stupid. It's childish. Just say what the game experience
woman
was.
genetically ever made, and I look at her and say, she's kind of mid.
The teeth are a bit off. The hair is like, she's a Lego character, you know, she's plastic.
Too angular face where she already looks like a 40-year-old Karen.
Yeah, she looks older than
she has this judging look on her face all the time.
There's something a bit off, which I liked because that was the whole joke, because she was genetically perfect, but it's like, Miranda,
if she's genetically perfect, why are her tits so small?
Oh, really? Okay, well, I thought they were...
Why is her ass hanging? Is she not doing squats?
You see, there's...
Because genetic perfection doesn't make a great ass. Squats do.
That's what I wanted from the player, or the player character as Shepard, to be like, hey, come on, you're not perfect. No one is...
Do some squats.
Let's go for a jog around the ship. Yeah,
let's see your model change throughout the game.
Let's do a morning workout routine. See how you do, and we'll see how genetically perfect you are, Miranda. Let's go. Come on. This is a relationship. Damn it, we're gonna get this right. Anyway, Vladimir, thanks again for the 5. Most, if not all, barbershops I've been to have been run by women. Really? Barbershops.
You need to go to Turkish barbershops. They're all run by men.
The beauty salons are run by women. All the barbershops I've ever gone to have all been men, and all the good ones have been either Portuguese, Spanish, Spanish, Mexican, or Italian. The best. And they treat you like you're a god. You walk in the door, it's like, oh my God, come on. Look at your head of hair. I can do like they just want to touch you and make you perfect.
You don't make it sound appealing, Smud.
Oh no, they treat you right. They massage your head, you get your scalp nice and wet, and everything's perfect. And they cut you like, oh, what we're gonna do. I have 3 ideas, and they give you suggestions. Like, what do you like? Okay.
But I know what you mean, because good physiotherapists and osteopaths have a similar drive where they just look at someone and see, well, that is cramped up, that rib is sticking out, that one's pushed in. I can't leave you like that. You're suffering. You're just so used to it, you don't know anymore. Let me help you. Let me fix your body.
Yeah. Anyway, I've had only a few barbers in my life, but they've been pretty cool. Anyway, 8 minutes. Oh God, I swear I can't go too much. This guy's just hurting. There's no. If he focused on the science, if there was any science, then that'd be great. But he didn't.
Not just cherry picking the bullshit papers.
Yeah. Anyway.
Constructed, this often led women to being seen as a second sex, a second class with less legal rights. Often, the averages make...
That's because of the way...
Do you mean secondary sex?
The reason why we
he means to frame it as the women are the underclass sex.
Oh, okay. But if you want to go
historically is not true.
If you wanted to go to war, the men argued in favor of going to war to protect the women, so they didn't have to vote. So that the men voted to go to war to risk their lives to protect their families, who were women.
I think it was only the Celts who were stupid enough to have women lead their war bands.
Not to say they couldn't fight, but they couldn't fight as well as the men, unfortunately. Anyway, they're probably good at managing all the men, but it's another story.
Picking up interests were used to compound and force people to fit more rigidly into specific boxes. This is borderline eugenicist thinking.
No, what? Excuse me?
Whoa!
How did we get to eugenics?
Well, because women are the second class sex, so they
so.
Oh God!
Wow.
Talk about doomsaying.
What culture treated women as second? Oh, gee, I don't want to know.
Eugenicist thing.
If any, you have 2 extremes that come out of the whole, because protecting women is a product of the subconscious. Must protect the eggs. I must protect the eggs because women are the bottleneck of reproduction. Because getting pregnant takes forever. Or being pregnant takes forever, and then you get usually 1 child out of it, and that in the before times, before the whole medical advancement, was likely to die. So protecting the women, especially the ones that you really like, is imperative. You don't want them exposed to danger, and that can result in the extreme in something like an Islamist society, where the women are so sheltered away that they're not even allowed to go outside without a man there to protect them. That's why they're not allowed to work or drive a car. It's in part, some may believe it's because they're competent at it, but really the real root of it is must protect the eggs. And that goes to a detrimental extreme of doing that. The other extreme, yeah.
I just opened my eyes. Why are there 5 boxes on the screen?
It's the 5 sexes I talked about that are necessary in this magical. Yeah. The other extreme of the must protect the eggs is the worship the egg holder, which is what the left is mainly doing, by submitting and cucking to every whim of the women. Because, oh, she has the eggs, therefore she is the most holiest thing, and therefore I am the total servant with no brain. I will do absolutely everything, and then maybe she may let me access the eggs. That's the subconscious reason for why these two absolute extremes happen. They have the same root. They just go into complete opposite directions.
All right, I want to see what these boxes means. I close my eyes for a minute and I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Tacky boxes on the hillside.
We got all these colors in the background. I know it's been tripping me out, but now we have boxes. I'm like, okay, whatever we're doing.
It's the worst rainbow I've ever seen.
Oh, they're never looking good. These flags. Anyway,
it looks sickly.
Forcing genetic reality to fit.
And the boxes are gone. What the hell was that about? Did I miss it?
I think we need to go back a little to understand this metaphor.
Oh God.
Into artificially constructed boxes rigidly and with little exception,
Examples?
rather than creating boxes that more accurately reflect the biological truth of genetic variation.
What is this? What do you mean boxes for genetic variation? What are you talking about now?
We have the people with the sperm, the people with the ova,
Yeah,
and I tend to be they each in their respective box tend to be extremely similar, with just a few outliers that are so rare you could count them as statistical flukes.
yeah, but when we use the term box, we're talking
Measurement
about
errors.
a category or a stereotype, and we have stereotypes for a reason. Like we have tall people play basketball and volleyball. We don't have short people because they're going to lose. They're not going to work very. You could have the short guy play basketball. Sure, there's some exceptions, but for the most part, if you're going to play with two of those sports, you're going to be tall. That's not because you're bad at this sport. It's just because people who are tall are going to be better at stopping and getting points.
And who's on average the tall people?
Yeah, I mean, this is not some like, oh, we got to put the little people down. It's like, no, they got their own thing. Like that's why we have stereotypes, because it works.
The Caucasians in the NBA tend to be still pretty tall, above average.
Right, but I mean, we have them for a reason, good or bad. It doesn't really matter. People say most stereotypes are neutral, but we have negative stereotypes, like the Italian who talks like he's from the Bronx is probably a member of some organized crime syndicate. It's like, no, not necessarily. But that's what we've been fed from Hollywood.
Well, that's a threat protection thing, and you don't need a lot of people within a demographic in order to trigger the threat protection prejudice.
Yeah. So
that pattern recognition.
We tend to make fun of.
If it's above 2% of the demographic that is acting criminal, then people start to catch on and try to avoid that demographic, or at least tell their kids stay away from those people.
Right. This is the same issue we have with perceptions of people who commit crimes in certain cities, of certain types of crime, which happen to be a certain race. The FBI stats don't lie. People do not profile people who are outside of those statistics. They could, but they'd be wasting their time. So they look for things that are following a pattern. It's not because they hate this race or they're prejudiced. It's like that's what they've been taught with. That's what historically has been happening. It's like, okay, this is what you're looking for. There's a chance it could be a this or that person. If it's a white person, it's usually a white person who attacked another white person. And same with a black person committing a black crime against another black person. So that's just average. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in that instance. But that's just how it is. There's no bias. There's no racist basis of that. I mean, why do you think in video games, past 20 years, we have the opponents used to be largely from the Middle East, or were dressed like the Middle East and had weapons of the Middle East that insurgents used back then in the 90s because of the various wars we had, the Gulf War, the Second Gulf War. There's historical reasons for that. And there's even religious reasons for that. But those stereotypes exist for a reason historically. Even if you don't like them, even if you didn't grow up with them, they are there in the past for a reason. So There's nothing inherently wrong with most stereotypes if there is a precedent, which is why they exist. Oh. I didn't see the super chat. Thank you, sir. Vladimir, again for the 5. To clarify, I meant it's a psyop from Bethesda to get more attention for the new game.
I think we understood that.
Yeah, whether it's from Bethesda or he was paid off by some other party. I mean, no, I think he's his own person. That's why he reacted that way, because it's so emotional. And there's other ways to get attention for Starfield, which are positive marketing examples, not negative marketing examples.
I think they're still trying to pander to those people because they believe they somehow get more money.
You know, if there was actual reasons to have that factor in the game, like people refer to you a certain way, or you had actual voice acted main characters, you could choose which voice actor to use, and they would refer to that person as male or female. Like, that would be okay. Like, okay, yeah, I want to choose how I sound and how I relate to someone. That's great. But they didn't do that. So it's really a nothing burger in terms of content, but it shouldn't be there in the first place functionally, so I don't understand the big deal. Anyway, let us keep...
Can you imagine having your main character that you can create completely on your own be voicing his or her own text and giving the player options for the voice, like 3 to 6 voices per sex? And that means recording the game 6 to 12 times just so the players can have some more options. That is an overly excessive
I think they have
idea.
2 or 3 per gender in Dragon Age Inquisition. They have 5 in Revenant 2, which just came out last month, per gender. So these are happening, but I actually like that, because I want more content out of my whatever style of genre of game. So yes, that is extra work, but like a game like BioWare is like, there's so much text and so much interactions and variability that would take months more time to just record the lines and get them inputted correctly and make sure they're the right tone and all that jazz. So if you're going to spend $90 on Starfield and not have a voice actor main character, I'm like, Fallout 4 was voice acted. For better or worse.
Schleichfahrt was.
So,
wait, no.
I mean,
that's just my memory filling in blanks.
You could argue that that's a good thing, because they're going back to their roots with just having the adventure be the experience as opposed to the character of the player character with the voice acting. But it depends. It's if you want a story driven game, you want the voice acting. If you want a game that's wide and sandbox like, then you don't. Like playing Fallout New Vegas, I don't need a voice acted character. It's doesn't help me. The mystique of the courier is all I need. This incredible force of will that survived death, that comes back from the grave to enact revenge and change the world, is it's pretty cool. That's all you need. Anyway, back to, why is there a... There's a certain
color
word.
Wheel.
A color wheel, yeah. There's a word for not a slider. There's something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's just keep going.
What they refer to. These socially constructed boxes that are mixed in with scientific...
Examples, please. Again, they can't just say socially constructed boxes. Which ones?
What scientific half-truths are you talking about? The claims of feminists are never even that. They're just nonsense.
When we say socially constructed box, does that mean everything is a socially constructed box within the confines of a stereotype of a culture?
I don't know.
Like, I don't think
I can do this for very long. Let's stick with the 10-minute mark, maybe.
Yeah, this is a horrible video, guys.
I would say because this absolute confused madness kind of interests me where it does go eventually. I would ask the audience that if they want us to continue after the 10-minute mark, then we'll do that on another day, and they'll tell us on the server.
I think this video is so bad that I want to know where it goes because it's so disconnected. That I'm just like, is this a thing? And he just brings up a point, and I'm like, that's not a thing. That's not. Even
I was really tired because I've been walking for very long today.
Okay, all right, we'll go for another minute and a half. Call it a day.
Histories of willful subjugation, wanting to broaden these ideas more so outside of the rigid boxes isn't anti-science. It's keeping up with biological reality.
Again, we're not saying it's anti-science. Give us an example of whatever the hell you're talking about that is preventing men or women from doing
biological. He's now saying keeping up with biological reality. Biological reality is exactly what brought up these two extreme societies where women are either held in golden cages, and if they're lucky they're golden, or holds them up as princesses that makes them utterly narcissistic tyrants. So neither of these two, I'd say, is what makes a free society.
Of evidence. Ideas that we have somewhat formed more nebulously from genetics because they were the result of the average people creating them in a culture. This can also be disproven because not only things...
What?
I have no idea. I will just tell him that gender dysphoria exists independent of anyone's idea about gender, social constructs, what the current fashion trend in the culture is, because it doesn't care about that. Fetishists care about these things because they like to imitate stuff. But this is not that.
It's totally fine if you're already a drag queen, like that's what you do for your fun. That's totally great. But once people like these, what we call trans trenders, get a hold of that, think this is real and this is what I want to be, this is where we get the problem with, what is it, the 20% insurgents of men in North America are now gay or identify as trans. It's like, whoa, that's
20%.
I have to get that stat one more time. That's what I heard on a podcast, so I might be getting it wrong. But it's in the.
I think that's still nonsense.
Yeah, it's probably something from a small client, like a small demographic size that they got the numbers from. I'd have to check that stat. Anyway.
Things like the example that I already mentioned, changing in time and context, but also the existence of hundreds of mutually cohabitating cultures all across the planet that have sometimes similar, sometimes dissimilar, and sometimes completely different or opposing stereotypes.
Dissimilar is completely... What are you talking... You're just saying the same thing over again.
Stereotypes.
Dissimilar, similar, and then completely different. It's like you just said dissimilar. What do you mean?
So everything.
Everyone's different in culture. It's like, not really.
Just say everything.
Yeah.
It shortens it.
Yeah.
Associate gender in their respective cultures. This contradiction becomes even more apparent in languages with gendered masculine and feminine grammar.
What?
For example, the concept of a key in German is masculine, associated often with being heavy, rough, and hard. Well,
it's also a phallic object, you fucking retard. And the keyhole is a vulva.
Wow, it's like the same concept we have in computer science when we have male and female ports. Gee,
yeah.
I wonder why we call them that.
It's not just computers, it's electronic stuff generally.
Yeah.
Electrics. And hey, Bayonetta 1 really used that whole phallic vulva thing for its hey, put this giant key into the bottom of that statue that totally doesn't look suggestive. And then turn the key in a
That is a joke, I get it.
It's beautiful. That is actually beautiful innuendo. I am not a fan of innuendo because usually it's just bah.
Well,
Bayonetta 1, it is a work of art.
when you're talking about those Capcom games, yeah, I think you get what you're paying for. You're like, all right.
Yeah. But hey, keep on going, explaining my language to me, you fucking asshole, because you're fucking activists that try to do this whole gender is a social construct and then try to put all this fetishism into the trans shit. They are at the same time trying to degender the German language by inventing suffixes and adding them to words to make them gender neutral. And if you thought the whole Latinx shit was ridiculous and unpronounceable, what these people are doing to our language, or trying to do to our language, is that on steroids with every noun. It is insane. Nobody wants to speak like that. Nobody wants to see this. It is breaking your brain when you try to read it. They're at the point where they have capital letters in the middle of words, underscores, slashes, and hyphens, and asterisks in the middle of words, just to degender them or to be all-inclusive. And you look at that, and how am I supposed to read this shit?
Some languages already
it
have...
basically looks like censored expletives in adventure games.
Well, you could say some languages already use various forms of grammar that use hyphens and apostrophes and umlauts, and but they've been around for centuries. So if you want to add to that, great. But
that's not how they do it. That's not how they do it. So I'll run you through the details of that at some point.
All right.
Because this is a big topic, and the person who's been at the source of the biggest push for that since the end of the 90s, a Professor Lan Hornscheid from the Humboldt University in Berlin, is a gender-confused lesbian who now LARPs as a man, half transitioned, and claims to have these magical pronouns that she invented initially. That shit is coming from her. The magical pronouns, the magical suffixes, and the really funny part is that I think it was about 10 years by now, 5 to 10 years ago, that the left finally cancelled her because she dared give a black female student a bad grade. So she was called a racist and cancelled. It's beautiful.
Is this going to be in High German or just the actual German?
Well, the written language is High German.
Yeah.
They try to destroy the High German.
All right.
We wouldn't understand each other if we didn't have High German.
It's categorized as feminine, associating... Same exact concept. A key.
How would the big key fit into the little hole? That sounds quite enjoyable, but it's probably not very, very convenient for a door.
Yeah, it's a very simple way of getting the key into the hole. You might not like how you do it, but
it sounds like you would also need a hammer.
Anyway, I don't know what point he made aside from yes, there are gendered words. That's true. We have them for a reason.
Oh God, somebody tried to recommend this Tom Scott guy to me recently. I thought he's a mathematician.
Oh.
Why is he talking about gender-neutral pronouns and this bullshit activist language of, here, get used to them. No, kill yourself. Okay. I hate you people because you invent this garbage that we never asked for, and you push it onto the world in our name, and now everybody hates us.
Okay. Well,
before they thought us weird. No, they hate us. Thank you.
Let's continue. 30 seconds left, and we might do this another day. Who knows? Could be worth our time. Right now, we're just like.
Now we gotta do the video inside the video at some point.
Oh God, yeah, that'll be fun. Write it down if you want to recommend it. That's how the process works, guys, and post it in the suggestions channel. Okay.
So it's not called. He calls it grammatical gender. It is called sexus, which is a different thing.
All right, let's go.
With totally different gender signifiers that actively contradict each other, hard-baked into two coexisting modern cultures and languages. If you watch...
What did you just say? What do you mean?
Physiotherapy. What is...
No, he's now saying that when people were doing putting out for hire letters, that in German they write the masculinum of a profession, and then in brackets add male, female, man, woman in this case. Männlich, weiblich is the German one, so it's male, female. And so this is how it was done back in the day. It means that we are hiring men and women for this position. You both can apply. And that is done because the word physiotherapist, like in English, looks male, because it is the male form, the masculinum. But the masculinum in German is not a purely male form. That is a misconception. It's actually a misnomer to call it masculinum. It includes both sexes. It is only the femininum, the female form, that is explicitly female and excludes males. And that is what Tom Scott apparently also doesn't understand.
This is very similar to the words like actor, actress. When we use the term actor, we don't always refer to the male actor, but we can refer to a female who is an actor. But same with waiter, waitress. We don't say hey waitress. We just say hey waiter, check please or whatever. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, like you when you say judge, can be a man or a woman in English. But the thing is that I think it started in the 60s, especially through the feminist movement in Germany, that the feminist movement insisted, because they didn't feel seen enough, that we had to make female versions of all the professions, which you just in German do by adding the suffix in at the end. So physiotherapeut in. And that is as if you would write physiotherapistess or something, or judge and judges. You can do the very same thing in English with the English language, just that thankfully your feminists didn't push for this nonsense. It sounds absolutely stupid.
Okay, all right, let's keep going.
And they're pushing for even more stuff. Okay, they invented the third gender now.
What?
So
yes. What?
Because now when you make this looking for hire thing, you have to write physiotherapeut. How does it go? Yeah, physiotherapeut / in.
What?
And then you open the bracket M/W/D, and then you close the bracket. So, and the D stands for diverse. So now we have male, female, and diverse. Diverse is now an official state approved, because by law, gender or sex, by that matter, because we are not asking for gender when we ask for men or women. We ask for they added this diverse thing because they think we're asking for male or female looking people for gender. No, we ask for sex. You can quote me on that. It's going to be very funny.
Oh boy. Okay, we got 10 more seconds.
And by the way, they made this. They forced this. And you have to pay fines if you don't add the D. And
what?
Yes, because it would be discriminatory. And the thing is, in per year, in all of Germany, there are not even or barely around 100 people that actually use the D on their forms.
So
They're not male, not female. They are diverse. They are the diverse gender.
if you're
And trust me on that, it's not dysphorics that use the D.
So if you're a human resource agency in Germany or wherever this is done, and you make a posting on LinkedIn, it's by law that you have to put the name of the job description, like the title, to have the M and F and D.
Yes.
Wow, I will go on LinkedIn Germany just to see what that looks like.
We have a completely communist government right now.
Oh, well, so do we.
People don't understand that. And things are going very different. And oh my God, Tom Scott made this video 10 years ago? So 2013? Well, I guess gender-neutral pronouns didn't really, catch on? People are still refusing to want them because they're unnatural garbage. that they're language engineered biohazard. If they were actually needed, like, because gender neutral pronouns are neologisms effectively, and there are rules for when a neologism catches on. And I always forget one of them. There's three main rules. One is it has to be needed. And apparently it isn't needed. I'm too tired to think of the rest. I think one is... Oh, right. So it has to have a definition that is not already covered by something else. Which is why, in this case, the masculinum already includes everyone in the German language. Just like you said. Like when you talk in English, you talk of a baker, you don't say bakeress to refer to a female baker. Baker means all the bakers. Cook means all the cooks.
All right, we got 10 seconds left.
Oh dear.
I'm sure if you guys want us to cover this video, you could say so in the suggestions channel. And, well, I personally don't want to. But
Part 2.
well, yeah, this video may be part 2. We'll find out. Anyway, here we go.
Persona 4 series, you may remember the third gender, but not really a gender, but kind of a gender that Japan...
The personas?
You can't even... So that is not a definition. That is just hogwash.
Naoto Shirogane has the third gender? What the hell? What is he talking about?
Naoto's confusion is not a gender, you idiot.
had in the Meiji eras. If you haven't seen those videos, the Persona 4 analysis series is definitely worth watching. Native American cultures also famously have additional gender signifiers other than man and woman, and different other cultures.
Yeah, but those are dumb. Like, those are, we just...
Is that like spiritual mumbo jumbo?
Yeah,
the two-spirit is not actually a Native American thing. That was actually invented by a white gay man in the 90s.
Well, I'm not surprised.
We sort of humor that because now it's part of the alphabet mafia, and in Canada they made it popular because, I don't know, that just happened. But it's like, okay, I mean, you can make the form on the job description longer. We don't care. It's just annoying that we have to declare this nonsense. So whether they have gender quotas, I don't know. But you could always say, I don't choose to tell. If your name is Bob Smith, I mean, we're going to guess you're a guy. You don't have to do that. So it's just kind of stupid, but now it's on all forms. So anyway, that's been over the limit. I can't believe he jumped into Persona 4 with this asinine. I'm sure he had a dumb video about that. We've covered Persona 4 like crazy over the years. We've talked about Naoto and, well, all the characters of Persona 4. So we don't need to cover that if you guys want to recommend it, but maybe it's worth a laugh. Did he upvote his own? He did upvote his own video. It's hilarious.
It's also great that the quotes he's showing has the sentence in, classify him as a third gender would be misleading.
I don't know.
What a great supportive point for your case.
Where do you get a third gender in Persona 4? I don't know where.
The social fabric.
The shadow self, maybe? I don't know. Anyway. Oh God. I just noticed
the wakashu and menja were expected, furthermore, to assist each other in fulfilling the various obligations that made up the social fabric of girl, ranging from their primary responsibility as retainers to a lord to such private blah 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 blah. The thing is, what these snippets are talking about is just you have a job that you've been assigned to because you're a bloody slave to your bloody feudal lord who has some very weird tastes. Does that work?
I think I've lost the plot, but thank you very much for that. Let's get on with the super chats. I didn't even see that. I was not looking at the screen. I was leaning back and trying to find something of value, and my eyes are a lot happier as a result. There's nothing there. Okay. $50 super chat. Holy crap. Thank you, Vladimir.
That's a mega chat.
Yeah, that is the big red pill on the top of the screen there. Thank you. To distract you from this dreck, the reason hunters in America wore blaze orange is because there's no color in nature that is that specific shade of orange, and also because deer cannot see the color orange, it looks gray to them. I did not know that.
Oh, cool.
That is very interesting. Because I know when you go hunting, if you do, in fact, go in the woods, you always wear a bright red color so other hunters can see you and not shoot you. And that the animals do not have that level of color distinction. Whether that was bright orange or bright red, I don't know. But good to know. Thank you.
I'd say there are some flowers that look like that, but they are not very common.
There is variations
not
of bell peppers that are bright orange. And I just saw...
They don't really grow up here.
Well, there's all different colors. There's purple, there's red, there's green. I just found an article on cnet.com, foods that make you happy according to science, and the first one is the orange. So maybe you should have more fruit in your diet. I don't know. Anyways, keep going. Vladimir Dragunov, language imperialism. I don't know what that video is about. Probably not going to watch it. Probably don't want to watch it. Not an FBI. Thank you, sir. Anyone that uses they or them should be charged double, because if they want to use that language, so be it, double their taxes. This is a joke.
I agree.
We always use when we see he, her, or no, he, him, she, her, and they, them. It's like, when would you use they, them? Like, are they like the queen? And you're referring to them when they're out of the room?
The royal plural doesn't work. You already get that in English through you. Because the singular you in English is actually plural.
Which is second person perspective. And you do use that.
Which is the verb that follows it, which is not is, but are.
Right. And that is something you would actually use in formal grammar when talking directly. So this concept of defining pronouns is not even functional, which is weird, because I don't need a pronoun to know who and what I'm addressing. I could point to you and look at you and go, there you are. And when you leave the room, I won't talk about you because that's impolite. So this like if you want me to respect you, that's a two-way street. Talk to me, and if I find you respectable, I'm going to respect you. It's not because you have words that you give me a card.
English is a very polite language that way because it directly addresses the other in plural. And in German, when we talk with strangers or officials, people of respect, we address them directly in an impersonal way with third person plural. Like we say they, if it would be English. And if I directly talk to you, as if it's if you talked in third person plural to someone directly, it immediately sounds like royal, like you're talking to royalty, and this is for mutual respect for the stranger. When we only talk in the second person singular, the you, the singular you, for people that either we consider as close, like friends or family, or children, because children haven't earned this formality yet.
Yes, and that's a form of respect by virtue of, oh, this is a child, this is an elderly person. You show them that naturally. You do not enter a room and demand respect. That's not how respect works.
Yeah. And neither the singular you nor the third person plural are gendered in that sense. Like the German third person plural sounds like the word for she in German, but it has a completely different meaning.
Okay. All right, one more from JJJ Madness. Thanks again. Okay, I need to ask, what does any of this have anything to do with ER and how he's wrong about Steven Universe and gender? You know, the video was so strange. I was like, what is he even trying to say? That I don't know where he was going. I know he brought it up at the start, but
I think he just doesn't have much room to maneuver in, because what ER brought up was the actual scientific position.
ER's video is 30 minutes. I do recommend searching for that. It's on the Internet Archive. All of ER's videos are awesome. That one was taken down, unfortunately, but it's actually someone else re-uploaded it on YouTube a few times and mirrored, but you could find it on the archive. It's such a good video, and he brings up John Money and a bunch of other crap that apparently these people who wrote Steven Universe did not know about. So, anyway, let's get on with stream memes. See what we got. Bring some joy to this soulless, strange interpretation of ER's video, which we didn't even get into, unfortunately. I wanted to talk about it, but maybe we'll have to have a second part. I don't know. Up to you guys.
Let me read the stream.
Oh my god. I'm not going to read all this stuff.
I'll read this one. The characters still exist in their original state after I edited them. I just like putting forth a more ideal design like so. And
how dare you! She was even sensitive enough in the show about her eye. Her eye is so fucking beautiful. And you come in and give her a pair that's like when Leela got 2 eyes and she hated herself for not being herself. This is not okay. Just kill this block bird.
What was that?
The character is usually is Cyclops.
Oh, so they gave him 2 eyes.
Yeah.
And this is considered attractive.
Well, the Steven Universe fans, of course, insist on, no, her being a Cyclops is beautiful. She's a mutant.
There is a funny manga that has Cyclops in the title, but the girl covers her face with her hair, so they call her, because she's a tall girl, but she has a brother, like a hard brother complex. So she's really strange. But everything about her is like prime female, like tall, busty, curves. You know, everything's great about her. Smart, dedicated, all the good traits. Anyway. Okay. I see.
But he's played by, what's his face from Pronouns.
Tony.
Oh dear.
If only he was alive.
Steven Universe fans getting dragged out of the mall for trying... Oh...
Oh, wait.
I
could make a worse pun, but I'll leave it at that.
Time traveling in 1940 to tell the world that Hitler deserves a second chance. Oh boy. Character. Steven Universe fans when they introduce a straight white character instead of a plus-size black disabled autistic transgender polydimensional crystal gem.
Polydemisexual.
What does that even mean? I said it wrong.
You've melted your brain enough.
My brain saw the word. I just kept going. I was like, what?
I mean, it's in the end, it's not that different from what you said because it's all magical nonsense.
So not dimensional demis. Okay, never mind. I don't care. Just a little reminder: watch better shows that came before Steven Universe. Oh yeah, there's dozens.
Mm-hmm.
Samurai Jack is awesome. I like the girls. They're good. This looks familiar. What is that?
Which one you're looking at?
Two people with orange hair and they're spraying each other with water.
It's My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Oh, okay.
It was a good show.
Everyone, oh my god. Except
Jesus Christ.
Into the dead end.
where's
Hey, look at this. Look at the sign in front of it.
No, someone looks at the everyone welcome and it's just speed up. Oh, okay. I'll do what you're saying. It's flag.
Yeah, it's an arrow, so I guess.
It's so ugly. It's so ugly. And then you have the race strips on it because, hey, yeah, we need to make it a black people because they're more worth than any other race.
Did you see
Thought
that?
it was about
And somehow is more important than all the gay shit.
Remember, I can't remember which we covered, but there was that horse in London, I guess, and they painted the rainbow on the ground, and the horse flipped out. They just could not walk. They just walked around the entire paint because they didn't want to touch it. It was kind of like, whoa, they don't like rainbow roads, I guess. I don't know. It freaked them out. If you cut off pieces of your brain, you could die. Yep. This is true. There is a threat on Earth, Steven Universe. Oh my god! Virgil. Yeah, that was me. I want a lawyer. You need a personal trainer. License says 180 pounds. You something more than the damn car or something.
You weigh more than a damn cog, girl.
I have a thyroid condition.
Stop eating thyroid.
The whole thing is if you have a thyroid condition, take your fucking medicine.
Yeah.
Because you get fat you get fat when you have hypothyroidism,
And the opposite.
which means your thyroid isn't producing enough thyroid hormone, which is relevant for your metabolism to digest and process the energy you get out of food. And when that doesn't work right, it just puts it all into the fat cells and you still feel all tired and weak. So you just get fat, you eat, but you don't get energy out of it because it instantly gets into your fat deposits. So what do? Go to the doctor, get your blood work done. Every few years, do a of your thyroid. Maybe even take some radioactive contrast stuff to really check it out, and get the proper prescription for how much thyroid hormone is missing that you then supplement each day, and then you won't be fat.
Well, the thing is, when you get your blood done, they do a generic screening. They don't do any specific tests, and you have to ask for those specific tests.
No, well, that's because you're in a shitty country, Smut. In a proper country, where you have an actual healthcare system or something that is actually somewhat worth of the term and doesn't just actively promote killing yourself.
Well, I mean,
when it's first diagnosed, you do all the checks, and every few years, especially when it is further progressed, then you do a yearly check of blood work and ultrasounding the thyroid in case it goes cancerous, which it can do with this condition.
In the States, if you do get your blood work, you have to ask for ApoB and was it HCl or LDL cholesterol? Like, you have to ask for that because they do check cholesterol, but they don't check specifically for certain kinds. So it depends on how healthy you want to be, what you're eating, what you're careful about, if there's any problems with your diet, and how that makes you feel. So yeah, you should definitely research these things before you see your doctor, get blood work, and just pay attention because your diet is very important.
You already have this Obamacare scam, and you still don't get proper health care?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you?
The States and Canada have very strange approaches to health, but that's what. Anyway, hold the earth you. Let's not talk about that. I don't know what's going on here. Is that the video game nerd? Is this the parade?
Wait, I want to read this one out loud. Why the fuck are all these people throwing a parade for LJN? Waving around the rainbow of death? What were they thinking?
Who is LJN? I'm totally missing that.
It was a game company, like way back in the 80s and 90s.
Oh. Okay.
The Friday 13th game, or published it. I forget who makes it or publishes it. Friday 13th, Elm Street game, Terminator games, and then other licensed stuff. But they all have one thing in common of being garbage.
And their
Or just
logo,
show up.
their logo was the rainbow flag.
And no. Hold on. You continue down the thing there. I'll find the LJN logo.
Okay. Oh, how do I tell my 13-year-old daughter that she doesn't have body dysmorphia and she is just fat and ugly?
By telling her that she is just fat and ugly and should just eat half, as well as get the fructose corn syrup out of her diet completely.
Apparently, have some fruit that makes you happy, like bananas and
Oh yeah, they fill you up quickly.
avocados. I didn't know avocados make you happy, but okay.
Avocados make you fat. They're the fattest fruit there is.
When this fella started to include an extra third chromosome, yeah, what was that about? Where'd that come from? Oh boy. Yeah. Okay.
Zyke? What is Zyke?
Yeah, I know. Here's the right spelling.
What is Zyke? Why are you people?
Wait,
We have a meme in Germany that the Nazis are too retarded to actually make their own propaganda, which is why you see all these weirdly angled swastikas that go in random directions.
Or when we try to say the word rape, we use, grape. This is their way of doing that. So,
I don't know.
The censors.
Just use siege then, or wait. Yeah, just use siege.
What most guys want, what I want. Yeah, this is kind of like the cartoon, or sorry, the manga of the Cyclops sister. She's basically taller than her brother. She's gorgeous, and she covers her one eye with her long hair. There is no gender, only minion. Is that Dr. Pepper? What is that? I can't tell. Their version of Dr. Pepper. Me when I get a whiff of the delicious scent of fresh apple fritter. Is that the local bakery version, or is that like the Costco version? There's a big difference.
Know.
I don't know, you gotta like apple fritters, guys. Equality, okay. Equity, all right. And then eugenics. Okay.
What?
It's kind of funny. If you look at the eugenics in Russia, the bottom is partially correct. But it came with...
The equity thing is not that.
No, it's not. But...
The equity thing is everybody has the same... The equity thing is actually the one above.
Yeah. I don't know what the person with the wheelchair represents, but
it's so fucking wrong.
No, I think it would. No, I feel like it'd been funnier for the equality one. It's just show instead of her being on the bike, she's just on the ground next to the bike.
Oh boy.
I mean, in the end, equity is supposed to be the lower one, the
All
bottom
right.
picture.
Let's keep going. Dear Spongy Boy Me Bob, you claim that capitalism kills millions of people and forces people into poverty, but have you considered that I'm killing all those people and I'm forcing people to be impoverished? Okay. Eugene H. Krabs, founder of Turning Point Bikini Bottom. What? What is this? If genitals don't define sex, then how does altering them affirm it?
That is a good question.
So are you like gay or something? What pride flag is that? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh dear. There is okay, yeah. There's a threat on Earth, Kratos. Quick time event.
Oh, there's the LJN logo.
LJN. Oh.
Yeah,
This
the gay-
infamous thing.
Yeah, that's the gay rainbow.
The
It's
game.
whenever you play a game that has this logo, you know the game's not going to be good.
Yeah. That should have been a future message to 2010s that the rainbow is a sign of bad things.
Oh, and most of the games they either published or made, one life, no continues.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. Super hard.
Or 3 lives. You just that many lives and you're just fucked.
All right. Well, that was a really bad video. I mean, absolutely.
So far.
I mean, we tried to be nice. Like, I was just trying to listen to this guy. Like, what is he saying? And I just could not grasp it. I don't even think he knows exactly. I think he has an idea of what he's trying to say, but
He believes he knows, but if he would have to actually articulate it, he would realize that he never has.
Yeah. And if you're going to argue, we always talk about this, the title has to reflect the content. If you're going to argue that something was wrong that ER said or did on his video, can you please address that? Not have a 10-minute rant about whatever? I still don't know what he was talking about. Like, he brought up Persona 4 in the last 10 seconds. Like, what the hell's the third gender in Persona 4? What are you talking about? Where did that come from? Why did you even bring that up? Of course, he was pointing to his own video on his other channel. Anyway, if you guys want to do this again, put in the suggestions, comment. Wisp, you want to cover the second part. I don't really see why you'd want to do that, but it's up to you. Thanks, guys. Keep the suggestions coming. Keep the voting going. We'll see what comes
It is
up.
the insanity we need to unravel to save ourselves.
I might actually want to do the second part of this just because there's just enough that makes me interested. So what the hell is he going to say next? But it's not like bonkers, like I'm Maggie May Fish crazy. What am I going to randomly say next? This is like he's in the right lane and he's sticking to it. He's just like twisting the steering wheel like crazy. And just like, oh, let's talk about Persona. I was like, no, why? Why would you do that?
Well, speaking of Maggie, she has a new video that was published 3 days ago, Smud. You know what to do.
Oh no.
Is it worth our time? I don't know. I haven't touched her in months.
Dunn will know.
Oh, we gotta ask Dunn. That's right. He's our quality control for Maggie.
I would love to be on the Maggie one.
All right. Well, I'll ask Dunn. Say, hey, Dunn, what do you think of the latest Maggie video? There you go. We'll do it next Friday. That could work. As opposed to the other video we didn't watch was about maps. I was like, what the hell is it? I actually watched 70% of that. I'm like, what is this video? This guy rambling on about history and other weird shit. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with map making and yeah, I guess people could make maps based off political ideology. They could, or they just scientifically thought that's how the landmass looked. Ugh. Anyway, we will talk to you guys later. Thank you for the suggestion and all the crazy super chats. Kept us sane, and we had more fun talking about other things while this video went on. Unfortunately, but
Which seems to be a rule, not an exception.
oh no, let's draw a little chart. We'll see how many oftentimes that happens, and see which videos, and we'll have a standard deviation so we know how far not to go. How long should we talk for? Anyway, thank you guys for the suggestion. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good Saturday evening or Sunday morning.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.